Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Henry DeVries. I'm the CEO, the Chief Encouragement Officer at Indie Books International. Welcome to our monthly Q&A session where any question on how to plan a book, prepare a book, publish a book, or promote a book is welcome. And we like to bring in special guests. Today is my co-author, Mark LeBlanc, also the chairman of the board of Indie Books International, along with David Goldman. Hi, David. See you on the call. We've written a book called Bringing in the Business Without Sounding Like a Salesperson. And this month we're going to have Mark, and next month David's going to talk a little bit about it. And then we can open up and you can ask Mark a question or me a question. Devin's producing, so we'll have to relay questions if you have it to her on social media and promoting books and technical things and websites and that topic. So with that, I'd like to introduce my brother from another mother. And Devin, if you could showcase Mark, that'd be great. And Mark, take it away.
Well, thank you, Henry, and thank you everyone for joining us today. This is a great book. And I'm going to give you a tip from the book that is not of my writing or urging, but this book has already been a game changer for me in my world. And the phrase is a conversation for possibility. The framework for bringing in the business is based on my 4 phases of the marketing and selling process, and what Henry and David brought in terms of color and context and addition and depth to the 4 phases of the marketing and selling process is nothing short of astounding. But David Goldman, and I've mentioned his name only about several hundred times since the book came out, introduces some phrasing, conversation for opportunity, a conversation for value. But the one that I have specifically latched onto is a conversation for possibility. And so I've already begun to use just that phrase in emails and in conversation or short conversation, or in leaving a voicemail message. Somebody will reach out to me and say, Mark, so-and-so told me to give you a call. I'm looking for a business coach, or, I could maybe use some help. And I'll email back and I'll say, well, thank you so much. I'm honored. I would love to hear your story. And we really have 2 kinds of conversations. We have what we call an attraction phase, or getting to know you conversation. And we also have what we call a meaningful conversation, or what we now call a conversation for possibility. Oh, that's what I want. If I tee that up with a prospect, it's like, oh, that conversation for possibility. So you don't even have to get the book, or you don't even have to read the book in order to just snatch that phrase and begin to use that. So whether it's a conversation for opportunity, a conversation for possibility, a conversation for value, thanks to David Goldman, that little tip or takeaway from me has already made an enormous difference. The reason the book was produced in the first place is that maybe every single professional on the planet has at one point or another said, I don't want to sound like a salesperson. And of course, my half snarky response is, well, then don't. Do I sound like a salesperson? No, you never sound like a salesperson. But you sell a lot in the terms of professional services. And one of my mentors, Jeff Toole, who wrote a great book titled Mastering the Complex Sale, helped me understand the difference between a pest, a peddler, a professional, and a prime resource. And I've been working for the last 35 years to position myself as a prime resource so that I would not sound like a salesperson. And I believe that I am where I am and that you are where you are based on the seeds you plant, the conversations you have, and the experiences that you create. I'm going to repeat that. You are where you are based on the seeds you plant, the conversations you have, and the experiences you create. If I could wave a magic wand for some of you, it'd be rely less on email blasts and Facebook videos in the hopes, not that they're wrong or bad, don't get me, really, I really want you to hear what I'm about to say. But this notion of just sending email blasts and, posting a video and keeping your fingers crossed that someone is going to raise their hand. And of course, wouldn't it be nice if they raised their hand and said, I want to hire you and I don't care what you charge. And would you like it up front and paid in full? Wouldn't that be amazing? But the reality is that we need to have better conversations with the people that are attracted to us or in need of our services. Some of us certainly have products that we sell, but for the most part, we're selling professional services. And our ability to have a conversation and draw that person in and to listen carefully and respond appropriately is both an art. There's an art to that conversation. There is a skill that needs to be sharpened. And you've heard that expression, learning is never out for the professional, or learning is never out for the pro. And this book will guide you through the different types of conversations and how to develop your own philosophy or approach to having these kinds of conversations. Just yesterday, I had a plumber out to our house because we had a leak, a pipe that was leaking. It was a slow leak, but I needed to get it fixed. And I called a company and they sent a young guy out, sharp guy, and warm, friendly, younger, but smart and definitely accomplished. And whoever taught him his approach should be fired on the spot. Because candidly, I hired him to fix a leak. Now, I have never hired a plumber to fix a leak in my life. But I had in my mind what it should cost to fix that leak. And it was quite a bit more. But not only did he do a bit of a diagnostic on our entire house, before he made the sale on fixing the leak, he had his tablet out and was very professional. And all of a sudden he said, well, but I found some other things in addition to the leak. And if you want he didn't use these words, but very, very close to it. If you want the platinum version where we're going to do this, this, and this, it's $3,300. And I'm thinking, what? $3,300 to fix a leak? I think he wanted to replace every pipe in our home. And then the gold package was $2,300, and the silver package was $1,300 roughly. And then it was $527 to fix the leak. What did I do? I fixed the leak. I had no desire to spend $3,300 to fix the house. I may need to do that at another point. The challenge, though, or in this story is, what if he would have just responded to what I needed and wanted first? Made that sale, earned my trust, earned my respect, honored me as the homeowner that I am, instead of putting me in a corner and painting this doom and gloom that my house might succumb to a flood in the middle of the night. Now, I may need to have those other services, but had Lucas read Bringing in the Business, or had his sales manager or training director built his training around what we have included in Bringing in the Business without sounding like a salesperson, I may have fixed the leak, but I may have set up a follow-on conversation to discuss what was going on with the rest of the house. And so understanding the types of conversations that we run into, not all conversations are created the same. There are nuanced or nuances between these different types of conversations. There is a goal and a trap for each of these types of conversations. I think the other thing that I really like about this book is when you do it right, when you bring in a person interested in your services and you navigate these different types of conversations well, the odds of you getting a referral go way up. But if you blow it, or in this case, I bought the service to fix the leak, but I will never give this young man a referral, even though he did a stellar job and he went above and beyond. I will never give him a referral because I don't want any of you or anyone else that I might refer him to go through the same or similar experience of buying that I did. And you can take this book to the bank over and over and over again. Thank you, Henry. Thank you for joining me here today.
Devin, yeah, thanks. We've gone to the Brady Bunch look here. The power of this book is you enroll clients, like a university enrolls students instead of selling. And that's the real power to this. So I'd like to open it up to any questions from the floor. You can raise a hand, just speak, put it in chat. Would welcome that from anybody.
It's a good-looking group, Henry.
It's they're fine-looking people.
Yeah. Hi, Dan. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, Chris Hodges, if you could jump in.
So I'm thinking, can you guys hear me on the mic?
Yes.
First of all, I thought that story was great, and it resonates with much of what I've heard you, Henry and Mark both say. And now you have three of you saying it from all the same angle, which is great. Can we talk a little bit, or can you guys talk a little bit about the cold, the thing that we all hate the most, right? The cold calling thing, the reaching out to people and starting that in a way that doesn't sound salesy, if that's the whole, the whole topic of the book. And I'll be specific. Right now I'm reaching out to Vistage people, but I have an in now with Vistage people. I've done something with Vistage, so that doesn't count. It's all these event planners and people who might be booking things. Any thoughts on how to do that in a way that is not so salesy?
I'll jump in and then let them take it. And this is something I learned from Mark in the languaging. When I approach those people, I start with the magic word if. If you'd be open to a conversation about booking me as a speaker, being interviewed, anything like that, comma, that would be greatly appreciated, which is a mashup of Mark LeBlanc and Bob Berg, who wrote Endless Referrals. I recommend that book highly, Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. And then the next statement is to the point of know you're very busy, and you let them off the hook that this could happen in the next 30, 60, 90 days. Because what you don't want to do is put anyone on the spot. Salespeople put people on the spot. Would a conversation Tuesday be good, or would Wednesday be better? So that kind of direct putting people on the spot, not good for a professional.
So Henry, if you'd be open to a conversation about whatever the thing is, and then the second one was, we could do this anytime. How did you say that? In the next 60 days?
Acknowledging that what was on their mind. I'm very busy. So I know you're very busy. So we could do this in the next 30, 60, 90 days, whenever the time is right for you. And Chris, I want to go back to the second half of that first sentence because it's important. If you'd be open to a conversation about blank, comma, that would be greatly appreciated. That's how Bob Berg teaches you to ask for anything. It's how I've gotten out of my last 10 potential traffic tickets, is a conversation like that with the police officer. It shows incredible respect. It gives the power to them. And frankly, they're so surprised that you respect the police officer that you often get off just for that. Mark, did you want to add to that?
Oh, I want to add to that.
Please do.
And you did a great job, Henry. I don't think I've made a cold call for decades. And I think part of it is developing your philosophy or your approach. And so I'm probably going to use a term that some of you who are not familiar with my work, and I'll try to keep this as short as possible. But Chris, I think it depends on what I call your positioning triangle. What is the primary outcome that you deliver on? For me, it's growing your business. I'm the growing your business guy. Who are you? And then next, what are the two specific problems you solve? And they're at the bottom corners of the triangle. For me, lack of focus. And the other problem I solve is a lack of owner's compensation in a consistent and predictable manner. And so then when you go to, and you use the term cold call, in my language, that's a sector 1 prospect who doesn't know who I am. I'm going to follow a 4-part pattern where part 1 is the greeting, part 2 is an acknowledgement, part 3 is the seed or the intent of the message, part 4 is the closing or the wrap up. So if I'm going to reach out to an organization, I'm going to say something like this. Good morning, my name is Mark LeBlanc. As a professional speaker, I've conducted well over 1,000 presentations titled Growing Your Business. If you would be open to a conversation about having me speak in the next year or 2 or 4, I would love to hear from you when the time is right for you. As an author, I recently published my 7th book on business development, titled Bringing in the Business Without Sounding Like a Salesperson. If you would like to get a complimentary copy of that book, I would love to get one in your hands. You're under no obligation for requesting the book. Just hit reply, get me your mailing address, and let me get this in your hands. I hope you have a great day.
Okay, A, that was absolutely fantastic. B, Devin is recording this, right? Because I need to write that down.
Devin is recording this, and you can come back and visit it.
So, okay, I have one more,
Chris, thank you, but
Okay.
let's just make sure we get around to a couple of other people.
We can come back to you. Who else would like to ask a question? So a question, this is from Dan Janelle. A client has gone way over budget on the work order. We have a contract for a 25,000 word book and a change not specified for words over that amount. He's written 40,000 words. How can I diplomatically bring this to his attention? Dan, do you want to elaborate? And I think Mark will take this one.
Well, I realize now as I was writing the question, I should have specified how much each additional word would be, but it's the diplomatic thing. It's the diplomatic. I need a phrasing. I need wording to say, hey, Brett, by the way, our contract said 25,000 and each week you're getting me like 10,000 words to read. And it's like way over what we agreed to. How can I do this without sounding like a jerk or greedy?
Well, it's a tough one. And but I think possibly you might want to consider incorporating my phrase, good news, hard news. We often hear that phrase, I've got good news and I've got bad news for you. I would put in the subject line, good news, hard news. Good morning, Sam or Sarah. I hope that you are off to a great start to your day. I wanted to reach out to you for a couple of reasons. One, we are making really good progress on your book. Two, the hard news is that we have substantively gone over budget in terms of word count. And I would love to have a conversation with you about that, because it might require a change order in our agreement. If you would be open to that conversation, I think we need to have that before we move forward. Rest assured, I've got your back on this, and our goal is to publish a book that you are proud of. But I think we need to just hit the pause button and have this conversation.
That's perfect. I'm glad Devin is recording this so I can get that transcript and get that exact wording. Thank you very much. And you did that on the spot, which is truly amazing. Thank you.
This is my superpower.
I'm going to add some, Dan, I'm going to add some about, of course, it's always good to have the language in the agreement. And one of the things we use is the platinum, gold, silver. And when you have that conversation, I'll say, oh, so what you want to do is you want to upgrade to platinum. And they've said, no, I don't. I said, I'm confused. You agreed for a 25,000 word book, and now you say you want a 40,000 word book. That would be the upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people, and I just keep saying, I don't understand. And it's amazing. They have a hard time explaining to me why I should throw in extra work at no extra charge. We've had to add other language recently to conversation. We've had to add, after we do our first edit, people have been inspired to rewrite the book.
Yeah.
Which means we have to go through editing again.
Yeah.
And so we've added language that, oh, if this happens, then there would be the, a fee associated with starting over again. And then we've also had people who will disappear for 90 days or more and then be back. And so we now have a restart fee. Oh, yeah, happy to do that. There's a restart fee. And we're finding that it also requires a conversation. We spend a lot on the attraction phase and the meaningful conversation phase. In the book, we have chapters on the decision phase conversations and the agreement phase conversations. And in the language of Sandler sales, you can't wimp out on those conversations. So before we hire, sometimes we have to have that good news, hard news conversation that if this happens, this is what would have to happen. Do you understand? And a lot of people are afraid that they're going to lose the deal by explaining their terms and conditions. Mark taught me years ago about boundaries. You have to have boundaries, and you need to be clear about what your boundaries are. Otherwise, your boundaries will be pushed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Henry. And here's what I would add to it, Dan. And I don't know exactly where you're at with this particular client or project or book, but I'm pretty sure we have all been in the same or similar situation at some point. However, we are 1,000%, each of us are 1,000% responsible for permitting scope creep. And sometimes with our head down and the grind of running our business, it goes off the rails. And all of a sudden, it's like it's way off the rails. And then we have to have this good news, hard news conversation. But as a professional to prime resource, we need to hit the pause button at the first moment that we're moving into scope creep. But we all run into this, or I do. I don't want to pretend like anybody else has the same problems I do, but
I'm sure none of you. Oh, Mark, I've had people say to me, well, Henry, I'm unlike all your other clients because my clients want free consulting from me, and my clients will push for everything they can get out of me. I'm going like, oh yeah, you're completely different than all my other clients. I think we all have that. Is there another question from the floor? Yes, Fran. The chair recognizes Fran, and you unmuted. You're sharp, Fran.
Today. So how many people on here or among your clients use an outline when you write nonfiction? Has anybody ever wandered with writing nonfiction by not using an outline, and is that ever useful?
Oh, I'll take this. There's two ways to write a book: seat of the pants or a blueprint. And our point of view is you can do either way, but if you don't use a blueprint, you're making a horrible, tragic mistake. You need to answer 7 questions about the book before you even start it. Questions like, who exactly is this book for? Question 2, what is the problem that this book solves? So blatant commercial here, Fran. On June 7th, I'm going to do a 3-hour class on the 7 questions you must answer. It's a 3-hour interactive class. I charge $365. Anyone on this call today, I will comp into that. And we always comp in anybody who's referred in by one of our Indie Books authors to that class. So you can see that on the website at indiebooksinternational.com events, and it's a June 7th book kickoff. More details on outline, or did that answer the question?
It answered the question. I've just written a number of fiction pieces where I put 2 interesting characters together and see what happens. I've also written nonfiction using an outline, but I just wondered if the paths ever cross.
Well, for fiction, I use an outline also. You're talking about character driven, and I'm a believer in that too, more than being real plot heavy driven. though there are story beats that I look for in my, and the fiction I'm talking about is business fiction, sort of like the 1 Minute Manager. One of my mentors is Ken Blanchard, who's the all-time champion of writing the business fable and all that. And then there's 2 basic outlines that we're recommending on nonfiction. It's either that why this is a problem, how to solve it, like a process or steps, and what to do next, or those same thoughts, but in a 20 essay type approach where you're looking at different facets of it. That's something that David C. Baker in the Business of Expertise, who I've been a follower of his for 20 years, he really advocates that for experts today, the essay approach makes more sense because your reader is short attention span and likes to flit around and will go to the different essays and get a sense of it. So we're accommodating the reader there. Dan Janelle, Dan, your book, is it Writing a Book in a Flash?
Yes.
And you have different, so I'm going to let you have the microphone just for a second, 20 seconds I'll give you.
Oh.
Just give the outline of that book.
Okay, well, I tell, it's everything you need to know to write a book. But what I tell my clients in the problem-solving books, which I coach people on, is what are the 8 problems that your clients are most likely to have? The 8 problems, they have to intersect with the 8 problems that you love to solve and are the highest profitable for you. And when you have that intersection, you have the 8 chapters that people would want to read the book for, because the only reason they want to read a book is to solve their problem. Once you solve their problem, you can send the book to your prospects and say, I read in the Wall Street Journal that you have this problem. Chapter 4 solves that problem. Can I speak to you on Tuesday or Wednesday? Now you have a marketing plan.
Hey, Dan, is there any book that helps people with their pickleball problem?
As a matter of fact, yes.
Well, give the title, Dan.
It's called Pickleball, the ultimate guide to, oh gosh, it's a long subtitle. I don't remember. I have it in front of me. But
Dan
look
Janelle
for my
has
name,
written a
Dan
book on
Janelle, on
pickleball.
Amazon. If you want to learn how to play pickleball, it's there. Oh, wow. There it is.
There you go.
By the way, I followed Henry's advice. He said, if I think the last meeting, he said, send your book out to people because they will spread it around. I got an email the other day from someone who saw my book on the rec center in the Portland, Oregon Pickleball Community Center, whatever. Why? Because one of the teachers there was interviewed in my book. I sent him 5 copies of my book, 1 autograph for him, for sell them, put them around, give them away. I don't care. And because of that, it led to another book sale.
So in book preparation, and that means the writing, I always have an index. And I recommend that the index has all the proper nouns that were in the book. So if I'm quoting Dan Janelle, I'm sending him a couple of copies of the book.
Yeah.
And he's in the index. You're writing this down, Dave Mastovich? You're writing this down, Corey Morris? So a lot of people this month, I've got 50 copies of Bringing in the Business going out to 25 different people, because I'm asking them, enjoy a copy and give one away or give both away with my compliments. So you spread the word in that direction. Let's see. Dan made a comment in the outline. By the way, in chat, I should have done it earlier, but I encourage everybody to, not a commercial, but put your name and email address, and you're not going to sell other people on here. My gosh, you really missed the point of this talk if you did a hard sell on everybody on here. But we believe in building up a community, and you might want to have side conversations or visit each other on LinkedIn. And one of our messages about being an author is, don't be in this alone. Relationships are the key. Build relationships. And that is a key to boosting your impact and influence. Okay, looking for, if we have another question out there. Eric has, I think that's Eric's book he's recommending, The Art and Science of Donor Bliss. Go ahead, recommend your book.
Well, hi, everyone. Sorry for the background. I'm in Starbucks, seemingly underneath a speaker. But I feel, I don't know, bashful in this group. I wrote this book 4 years ago. The last 4 years, I've lived in Australia, working a real job, and really haven't had time or the place to launch it. We're back in the US. I'm trying to restart a consulting business, and it would be nice to use the book either to launch the business or sell some copies. But it's really written to people who want to make a greater difference with their giving. And the consulting business then is to organizations and leaders who want to be more effective in doing that.
Nice. Eric, do you have a question on how we can help you with that?
I wish I did. I'm just bad at book promotion, and I thought I'd sit in and see if I could learn anything. I don't like self-promotion, and I'm trying to tell myself it's not actually self-promotion, it's book promotion. And I'm in a new area. I've never lived, so I hardly know anyone here either.
Well, what if I told you it was self-love? With that, let me go to Mark LeBlanc.
Well, it's nice to meet you, and certainly this could be perceived as an intimidating group, but Eric, we're all kind of in the same boat. So welcome, and welcome back to the States. If I heard you correctly, your book is also for nonprofit leaders.
So, as
I don't need a long answer. I just yes or no.
The book is to donors, but nonprofit leaders, by applying what donors want, can be more effective in what they do. If I had it to do again today, I would write 2 books.
Well, let's get your next book underway, for God's sake. And you've had a job for the last 4 years, so I would guess that you've been hoarding some money to help launch your business. So let's get that second book rolling.
Yeah.
God bless America and Australia. But it sounds to me that this would be a great book for a nonprofit leader to consider buying a quantity order for their greatest for their greatest donors. And so I think I would craft a short letter to a nonprofit leader, make an opportunity 100 list of 100 nonprofit leaders, gift them 2 copies of the book, and him or her. And I'd put together 100 packets here in the next 30 days. And that's going to get somebody's attention.
Eric, we've got lots of ideas for you. What if you
we
did
can rain
Q&A?
down ideas.
What if you did a community Q&A for these type of leaders Mark's talking about, and you generously help them out every month, like this? What might that do for your business? Just a thought.
I think your next book is titled "Perfect Fit Donors." How to attract and cement relationships with donors in your chosen field. I just pulled that out of the air.
Yeah.
Well, I like both these, and in between everything else. But I think in the next 30 days, these things are possible. And I came to one of your seminars probably 4 or 5 years, Henry, and it's just stuck with me. So I'm back. It's time to start doing the work.
So let's demonstrate everything we teach. So if you would like a no cost, no selling, no kidding, strategic call, just ask. You've got my email, and just ask. And we'll spend 30 to 45 minutes together. And my goal will just to be helpful and to help you get clarity around goals and hidden assets you have and roadblocks. And then what others have done in your situation.
I
Okay,
would love
everybody,
that.
that's an attraction phase enrollment conversation. If Eric takes it beyond that step, that's great. And if not, that's great too. Because now when somebody talks about, oh, I want to get a book done, and they talk to Eric, he's going to say, I know a guy. He'll talk to you and not try to sell you. He'll let you into his class that he does for free. I can hook you up with a $365 class. Think about your own business that way and your own promotion. As King Solomon said, the one who gives generously will be generously rewarded. So just that's our mantra.
It's
here.
true. No, and I still vividly remember you saying this is a no sales zone. And I like that, but I would love to take you up on that, and I'll send you an email.
Thanks. Now, Craig Lauder, my good friend and co-author, is in sales, and I'm not against sales. I had an attorney once walk out of one of my presentations because I used the word sales, and they were like, "We don't do sales." And David Goldman works with a lot of attorneys. That's what prompted this subtitle about without sounding like a salesperson. But at the end of the day, we all need to sell. To quote the great Zig Ziglar, if people who don't sell have skinny children, we need to sell. Any other question from the floor here? David Goldman from the great states of Florida and Pennsylvania.
Florida right now. So not a question, Henry, but I just want to, something that I didn't tell you or Mark, but we never put this in the book. I thought about it a couple of times, but what Eric was saying, what came to my mind was, well, what happens if someone doesn't raise their hand? So you just demonstrated a great way in the attraction phase to have Eric step forth. And Chris, I hope you were listening, because that was brilliant the way Henry did it. And then, that could force the question, well, what happens, if I do that and I go through all the motions and I do it well and someone doesn't raise their hand? Well, SW, 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 next. And what all those SWs stand for is some will, some won't, so what, somewhere, someone's waiting, next. So you're not chasing someone who doesn't seem interested, which, by the way, I got good at back in the 70s, but boy, I hated it. This is so much easier. And thank you, Mark, and thank you, Henry. By the way, I think Fran jumped off, but I did the same thing as Fran did with her fiction books. Is I found two interesting characters and put them together to see what would happen. And look, we got a book. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Henry. So,
David, when I write fiction, I call those characters my imaginary friends. So I have a lot of conversations with my imaginary friends for a while.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you must have had me in mind, because I need imaginary friends, as you well know.
There you
Anyway.
go. Craig Lauder, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to comment, the old adage, people like to buy, but they don't like to be sold. It's exactly what this book covers, and exactly what Mark talked about with his plumber yesterday. So we need to identify a need that our prospective client is seeking to solve, whether they're trying to resolve a problem or they realize where they're at today is not going to get them to where they want to go down the road, and have an interactive conversation with them where we facilitate the conversation and lead them to a point where they can make an informed decision on what, when, and where to buy.
Thank you, Craig. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Mark on something, and we've done over 50 workshops together around the country, and I've attended over 24 of his weekend retreats, the Achievers Circle, and he would teach an hour on this, what's turned into this book. And David also had attended these things, and he massaged it and added things to it in this concept. But and from my university background, I said, this curriculum is not written down. There's nowhere where it's written down. We were giving it orally to people. It was like an oral tradition that we would pass around. And that's why I was so pleased to be involved in this project, because we have it now in writing for you that you can get. And I heard the comments like, oh, is this being recorded? Can I go back and get it? There is so much wonderful language from Mark and David that were captured in the book. That's 99 cents today. And frankly, if you're our friend and you don't have a book, oh, if you want one unsigned from me because it's worth more on eBay, just tell me. So if you don't have this book, you're missing a lot of capturing the language that these gentlemen have tested for over 20 years.
And if you can't afford 99 cents, I'll cover it for you.
Yeah, yeah. We'll do that. Well, I see that the time is up. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next month in June on the first Tuesday, and David Goldman is going to give his rebuttal to Mark on bringing in the business, and I'll chime in with him, and we'll take it from there, and also more questions about writing and publishing a book. So now those of you who are my Indie Books authors, I have some good news and hard news. The good news is these are free for you to attend. The hard news is if you're not introducing yourself, the name of your book, and a question, you're missing a huge marketing opportunity. Eric, hear me out. You should come, ask questions, introduce your book, because it's the relationships you form in these communities by getting involved, go all in, get involved, that will pay off for you. So with that, I thank everybody for coming and look forward to your questions next month. So have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks, Mark.